Marcus, for joining us. Let me just say, it strikes me as wildly premature for us to come to the conclusion that we have to act now to prevent what could be a very constructive innovation in financial services. I think there are tremendous potential benefits in blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. I can imagine, I think it's clear that they could help us lower payment transaction costs. They could facilitate access to capital. They provide pseudonymity. They could provide levels of security that other forms of currency have not. Limited pickup as a medium of exchange might be explained partly by the volatility of these cryptocurrencies. And here we have what strikes me as an interesting iteration, maybe, including a mechanism to provide a diminished volatility, which is backing it with a basket of currencies. So I just think we should be exploring this and considering the benefits as well as the risks, and take a prudent approach. But to announce in advance that we have to strangle this baby in the crib, I think is wildly premature. Let me ask a question, Mr. Marcus, about the ultimate motive of this. It seems to many of us that if this were to unfold as you've described, and Calibra and Libra were adopted widely, there would be very, very valuable data about payments. In your testimony, my understanding is you have said that it is your intention never to share, this is for Calibra, never to share that data without consent. So is it the business model, is it the plan to, at some point in the foreseeable future, seek the consent of the participants so that you would be able to commercialize that data somehow?
Senator, no, this is not the intention at all. The plan, as far as Facebook is concerned, to monetize Calibra and this initiative is actually to enable the 90 million small businesses that are currently on the Facebook platform and the many users that are on the platform as well to engage in more commerce together. And if they engage in more commerce, there will be more advertising spend from those small businesses. That would be a first indirect effect of having Calibra and the Libra network be successful. And then over time, what we hope is that through the Calibra wallet, we can offer more services in partnerships with existing banks and financial services companies to drive new revenue streams for the company.
So the intent is never to even seek the consent of the consumer with regard to that payment data, to consent to commercialize it.
Senator, I can't think of any reason right now for us to do this.
My understanding is that the basket of currencies invested in very liquid, high-quality assets that is used as to provide the intrinsic value of this currency, there would be presumably income from that. We've got a lot of negative interest rates around the world, but let's assume that we've got more positive interest rates than negative. That generates a revenue stream. And I think from your testimony, the intent is to use that to cover some various costs. But at some point, that could become very, very substantial. And I saw a reference to paying out dividends to the founders, the original investors, but this is also described as a not-for-profit. So it strikes me as odd for a not-for-profit to generate what could be huge income and then distribute it to the investor. That sounds like a for-profit. And so one possibility is you could pay dividends in Libra to reflect the value of the income from the underlying assets. But could you explain how paying potentially unlimited dividends to the investor is not a for-profit operation?
Yes, Senator, thank you for your question. First, I want to address the fact that Libra doesn't pay interest because Libra is like cash and is mainly going to be used as a payment instrument. And as far as the interest and the non-for-profit question goes, the way that this is structured is that it will have some income that is actually targeted towards paying the operating costs of the association and potentially returning some return to all of the organizations that will invest in the ecosystem to make it happen. But the plan is not for this income to be unlimited and to be all of the income going back to investors. Obviously, we will need to find a way over time to create new pools of incentive that go back to people and businesses using the Libra network. And this is part of the conversation we're notably having on how to manage the reserve and the returns, and how to have appropriate oversight on the reserve with this working group that the G7 organized with central banks, finance ministries, and the FSB. And I believe that the reserve will require very specific oversight and regulatory framework in order to ensure proper management.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Tester.